The city street outside, one of Los Angeles' most exclusive, pulsed with the latent energy of extreme wealth and curated prestige. But beyond the towering, immaculately polished glass facade of Chronos Excellence, time itself seemed to adopt a different, more rarefied rhythm. This wasn't merely a store, it was a hushed sanctuary dedicated to the apex of horological art, a temple where plutocrats and discerning collectors came to acquire tangible symbols of status, engineering prowess, and the mastery of microseconds. Stepping across the threshold felt less like entering a retail space and more like gaining admission to an exclusive club, one where the invisible price of entry was an air of effortless belonging. Inside, cool, conditioned air circulated silently. Polished Italian marble floors stretched out like frozen lakes, reflecting the precisely angled spotlights that illuminated the treasures within freestanding glass vitrines. Each watch, be it a Patek Philippe Grand Complication, an audacious Audemars Piguet concept piece, or a classically elegant Vacheron Constantin, rested on dark velvet cushions, isolated and elevated like museum artifacts. The silence was profound, broken only by the hushed footsteps of the staff on the marble or the almost imperceptible, high-frequency tick of a particularly complex movement somewhere in the room. The staff themselves moved like phantoms in perfectly tailored dark suits, their faces composed masks of professional deference, their eyes constantly scanning, assessing, categorizing every person who dared to breathe their rarefied air. Their smiles, when offered, were brief, cool, and calibrated, less an expression of warmth, more a part of the luxurious, intimidating decor. Into this environment of hyper-luxury and controlled quiet, Keanu Reeves stepped, a figure jarringly out of sync with the prevailing aesthetic. He brought with him the faint, authentic scent of the outside world, perhaps a hint of gasoline from his motorcycle, the ozone tang of the city air, instantly noticeable in the sterile perfume of the boutique. He wore his usual armor of unassuming simplicity, dark, well-worn jeans that had likely seen more miles than most of the patrons' private jets, a soft, plain black cotton t-shirt that hung comfortably on his lean frame, sturdy, beloved boots scuffed from actual use, and over it all, a dark canvas jacket, practical, durable, its elbows polished smooth from countless leaning moments of thought or rest. On his shoulder hung a simple weathered backpack, its contents likely more intriguing than the most expensive briefcase in the room. His dark, shoulder-length hair, generously streaked now with salt and pepper gray, was slightly untamed by the wind outside. His beard, similarly flecked with gray, was neatly groomed but not overly sculpted. He didn't carry the obvious markers of wealth or the aggressive projection of importance common in this space. He simply was. As he entered, no one rushed to greet him. The closest staff member, a young woman arranging brochures, offered a hesitant, almost questioning glance before quickly looking away. Another employee, adjusting his tie near a display case, let his gaze slide over Keanu and then dismissively past him, clearly categorizing him as not a potential client. Keanu was used to this, the invisibility afforded by not conforming to expectations. He often found it liberating, allowing him space to observe, to simply exist without the weight of his public persona. He began to walk slowly, deliberately, through the gallery-like space, hands perhaps tucked into his jacket pockets, his deep-set, thoughtful eyes taking everything in. He wasn't just looking at the watches. He was absorbing the atmosphere, the psychology of the place, the human need for symbols of permanence and control in the face of fleeting time. He was also perhaps doing research, soaking in details for a future character, a story yet untold. His gaze traveled over the intricate dials, the gleaming cases, the microscopic precision of the movements visible through sapphire crystal backs. He appreciated the artistry, the hundreds, sometimes thousands of hours of human skill distilled into these tiny machines. He paused longer at certain pieces, leaning closer, reading the small descriptive placards. He eventually arrived at the main central display, a kind of altar to the gods of timekeeping. There, under its own intense spotlight, rested the masterpiece, a Patek Philippe Grand. Complication, reference 6300G, Platinum case, 2 dials, 20 complications, an object of breathtaking complexity and astronomical price. The small, discreet price tag confirmed its status, comparable to a luxury condominium in this very city. Keanu didn't flinch at the number. He was focused on the thing itself. The sheer audacity of its engineering, the beauty of its function, the human desire to measure and master the immeasurable. It was while he was lost in contemplation of this mechanical marvel that Alistair Thorne materialized beside him. Thorne, the store manager, moved with the silent confidence of someone who believed he owned not just the showroom floor, but the very definition of taste and worth within it. He was likely in his late 40s or early 50s, tall and slender, dressed in a bespoke charcoal suit that probably cost more than Keanu's entire outfit, including the motorcycle parked several blocks away. His silver hair was perfectly, almost rigidly combed. His features were sharp, his eyes a pale, assessing blue. He had observed Keanu's progress through the store from his office via discrete cameras. His initial assessment, browse, no potential, probably lost, solidifying with every passing moment Keanu spent not looking like a typical Chronos Excellence client. The fact that this plainly dressed individual was now lingering at the most expensive piece ignited a spark of annoyance in Thorne. He approached, a carefully constructed smile of professional politeness fixed on his face, a smile that didn't come close to reaching his cold eyes. "May I perhaps assist you with something, sir?" Alistair Thorne's voice was smooth, cultured, each syllable perfectly enunciated, yet carrying an undercurrent of impatience, a subtle questioning of Keanu's right to be breathing this rarefied air. Keanu slowly turned from the display case, his gaze calm and direct. He gestured towards the Patek Philippe. "Yes, thank you. I was admiring this grand complication. Remarkable piece. I was hoping to learn a bit more about the specifics of the movement, beyond the standard specifications." Alistair Thorne blinked, his professional smile faltering for a microsecond. He hadn't expected the question, nor the quiet confidence with which it was asked. He quickly recovered. "Ah, the 6300G, he said, his tone shifting slightly, becoming perhaps a touch more patronizing, as if explaining something complex to a child. "Indeed, a masterpiece. Platinum case, as you can see, housing our caliber 300 GSAL 36750QI SFUSIRM, 20 complications, including 5 acoustic functions, quite the marvel of microengineering." He paused, expecting perhaps a look of blank incomprehension from Keanu. Keanu nodded thoughtfully. "I'm familiar with the caliber 300, he replied easily. "What I was particularly interested in was the material used for the tourbillon cage. Is it still the traditional steel, or have they experimented with silicon or titanium in this iteration for reduced inertia? And the perpetual calendar, is the adjustment mechanism integrated into the crown, or does it still require separate pushers?" Keanu's specific, knowledgeable questions threw Alistair completely off balance. This man knew horology. He wasn't just looking, he understood. This contradicted Alistair's entire assessment, and the dissonance was irritating. His smile tightened, the politeness becoming brittle. "Ah, a technical enthusiast, I see," Alistair said, trying to regain control, subtly shifting the focus back to status. "A theoretical appreciation, perhaps?" Keanu met his gaze levelly. "A practical interest, Mr. Finch," Alistair supplied quickly, then corrected himself mentally. "No, I changed it. Thorne. Alistair Thorne, store manager." He gave a stiff little bow. "A practical interest, Mr. Thorne. Is it possible to actually see the watch? Handle it, perhaps?" Alistair's carefully constructed facade almost cracked. "Handle the 6300G? This man? In those clothes?" "I'm very sorry, sir," he said, his voice regaining its icy formality, "but that is simply not possible. Pieces of this value and rarity are only shown to established clients by private appointment, usually arranged well in advance, following strict security protocols and, frankly, financial pre-qualification." He let the last phrase hang in the air. "And how does one become an established client or prove financial pre-qualification?" without first being allowed to examine the piece they are interested in? Keanu asked, his tone still remarkably calm, genuinely curious about the logic. Alistair felt a surge of frustration. This man was deliberately being obtuse. "Sir," he said, his voice hardening, "let's not waste each other's time. As I'm sure you can appreciate, we cater to a very specific, very discerning clientele, individuals whose profiles align with the significance of these timepieces." He gestured vaguely around the opulent store. "Perhaps," he added, his earlier suggestion returning with more force, "I could direct you to some excellent dealers specializing in more accessible brands. There are several fine establishments just a few blocks away." The insult was now barely veiled. Keanu remained silent for a long moment, simply looking at Alistair, his deep-set eyes seeming to see right through the expensive suit and the professional bluster. This quiet scrutiny unnerved Alistair more than any angry outburst would have. The manager felt a desperate need to reassert his dominance, to win this silent battle of wills. "Look," Alistair said, dropping his voice slightly but leaning in conspiratorially, "let me be blunt. That watch," he nodded towards the Patek, "costs more than your average suburban house. Considerably more. Are you seriously suggesting you're in a position to purchase it today? Perhaps you were thinking of paying cash?" He finished with a dry, sarcastic chuckle, clearly intended to humiliate. The few other customers, pretending not to notice, now looked over openly. The younger staff members exchanged knowing glances. Keanu didn't react to the sarcasm or the amount mentioned. "The method of payment isn't the issue right now, Mr. Thorne," he stated evenly. "The issue is simply wanting to see the watch I expressed a serious interest in. You've told me I can't because I don't have an appointment, which you imply requires pre-qualification, which you imply I don't meet based on... what exactly? My jacket? My boots?" Alistair, emboldened by Keanu's refusal to be provoked into anger, decided to end this charade. "Precisely," he said, his voice dripping with disdain. "This establishment, Chronos Excellence, serves collectors, Mr. Sir, not casual lookers, not people who wander in off the street dressed for, well, whatever it is you're dressed for. I must now ask you to please leave. If you refuse, I will regrettably have to call security." At that exact moment, a woman browsing a nearby display case let out a small, sharp gasp. She turned to her husband, her eyes wide. "Darling, look. Oh my goodness, I can't believe it. Is that Keanu Reeves?" Her husband followed her gaze, squinted, and then his jaw dropped. "Bloody hell, you're right. It is him." The name, spoken with such certainty and awe, rippled through the silent, tense atmosphere of the store like an electric shock. Heads turned, whispers erupted, employees froze mid-gesture. The couple who recognized him started fumbling for their phones. Alistair Thorne stared, dumbfounded. Keanu Reeves? Here? Dressed like that? His mind scrambled to reconcile the global icon, the star of blockbuster movies, the man known for his quiet mystique, with the person he had just condescendingly tried to eject from his store. His face, already flushed with irritation, now went deathly pale. He felt dizzy, the polished marble floor seeming to tilt beneath his expensive shoes. He looked back at Keanu, truly seeing him for the first time, the familiar face, the intense but kind eyes, the quiet presence that suddenly seemed immensely powerful. It was him. Alistair felt a wave of cold dread wash over him, followed immediately by frantic, desperate panic. He had just profoundly insulted and disrespected one of the most famous, and reportedly one of the kindest, men in Hollywood. He stumbled forward, almost tripping over his own feet, his carefully constructed composure shattering into a million pieces. Mr. Reeves, sir, oh my goodness, I am so incredibly sorry," Alistair stammered, his voice high-pitched with panic, hands fluttering nervously. I didn't recognize you. Please forgive my atrocious behavior. A terrible mistake. Please allow me. The watch. Of course you can see the watch. Right away. Let me get the keys. We have a private viewing suite. Champagne? Can I offer you? Keanu simply watched Alistair's meltdown with that same unnerving calm. He didn't interrupt, didn't react, just let the manager babble, digging himself deeper with every frantic word. Keanu didn't reach for Alistair's belatedly offered handshake. When Alistair finally paused, breathless, Keanu spoke, his voice still quiet, but now carrying an immense weight. "So now, Mr. Thorne," he asked, the question hanging heavy in the air. "Now that you know my name, now I'm worthy of seeing the watch?" Alistair winced as if struck. No, sir, that's not what I meant. It was just procedure. Was it procedure?" Keanu cut in, his voice still soft but sharp as glass. "To judge me based on my clothes? To assume my financial standing? To speak to me with such condescension? To essentially ask me to leave your store? Is that the standard procedure at Chronos Excellence?" The store owner, Mr. Harrison, alerted by the commotion and recognizing Keanu instantly from his office doorway, hurried over, his face a mask of controlled panic. "Mr. Reeves, what an unexpected honor. Please accept my deepest apologies for any inconvenience you may have experienced." He shot a furious glare at Alistair. "Alistair, what on earth happened here?" Alistair couldn't speak. Keanu addressed Mr. Harrison directly. "Thank you, Mr. Harrison. Your manager, Mr. Thorne, was just explaining his unique customer service philosophy. Apparently, at Chronos Excellence, one's worthiness to even view a timepiece is determined by their attire and perceived profile, not their genuine interest or actual ability to purchase." Mr. Harrison looked horrified. "That is absolutely not our policy, Mr. Reeves. We value every potential client. Alistair, I cannot believe..." Alistair finally found his voice, desperate now. "Sir, Mr. Harrison, Mr. Reeves, it was a misunderstanding, I assure you. I was simply trying to gauge..." Keanu held up a hand, silencing him gently. "Mr. Thorne," he said, turning back to the now trembling manager, "I appreciate the performance, but the lesson here isn't for me, it's for you." He looked around the silent, watching store. "It's about respect, plain and simple. It costs nothing, yet it seems to be the rarest commodity in places like this." He paused, his gaze settling back on Alistair. "True value isn't measured in carats or complications. It's measured in character." Without another word, without a backward glance at the Patek Philippe, Keanu Reeves turned and walked calmly towards the exit, leaving behind a tableau of shock, embarrassment, and dawning realization. He pushed open the heavy glass door and stepped back out into the afternoon sun, leaving the artificial world of Chronos Excellence behind him. He left behind a frantic owner trying to salvage the situation, and a sales manager whose career, and perhaps worldview, had just been irrevocably altered. Alistair Thorne watched Keanu Reeves disappear down the street, feeling a hollowness he'd never experienced. Mr. Harrison's subsequent tirade in the privacy of his office was scathing, focusing not just on the potential loss of a massive sale or the inevitable PR nightmare if the story got out, which it did, albeit discreetly at first, but on the fundamental failure of respect and judgment Alistair had displayed. Alistair wasn't fired that day. Perhaps Mr. Harrison feared that would only confirm the story, but he was placed on indefinite leave, ordered to attend intensive sensitivity and customer relations training, and demoted upon his eventual, quiet return months later to a non-client-facing role. The humiliation was profound, but more than that, Keanu's quiet words about inner emptiness and true value gnawed at him. He spent weeks reevaluating his life, his priorities, the foundations of his self-worth, which he realized had been built entirely on superficialities. The change was slow, painful, and far from complete, but the crack in his facade had begun. Months later, seeking something entirely different, Keanu Reeves found himself wandering through an older, quieter neighborhood known for its artisan shops and antique dealers. He stepped into a small, cluttered, dusty shop called the Watchmaker's Corner. Sunlight streamed through the front window, illuminating swirling dust motes. The air smelled of old wood, metal oil, and time itself. Behind a worn wooden counter sat Mr. Abe, the owner, likely in his late 70s, peering through a jeweler's loupe at the intricate guts of an old timepiece, his hands, though wrinkled, moving with surprising steadiness and skill. Mr. Abe looked up as Keanu entered, offering a warm, genuine smile, completely unfazed by who his customer might be. "Good afternoon." Can I help you find something special? Or just browse the ghosts of time? Keanu smiled back, feeling instantly at ease. Just browse, thank you. You have some beautiful pieces. They fell into a long, comfortable conversation, not about price tags or status, but about the history of watchmaking, the beauty of mechanical movements, the stories behind old objects. Mr. Abe spoke with passion and a deep, unassuming wisdom. Keanu's eye was caught by a simple, elegant, silver pocket watch lying on a velvet cloth under the counterglass. It was clearly old, perhaps late 19th century, its cover smooth from a century of handling. That one, Keanu pointed, it has a story? Mr. Abe picked it up carefully. Ah, yes, this belonged to a sea captain. His wife gave it to him before his longest voyage. See the engraving inside? He opened the cover. Tempus fugit, amor manet. Time flies, love remains. He carried it across every ocean, Mr. Abe said softly, a reminder of what waited for him back home. Keanu held the watch. It felt solid, real, imbued with history and human emotion. Compared to the cold, technical perfection of the Patek at Chronos Excellence, this felt infinitely more valuable. I'll take it, Keanu said quietly. He paid the modest price without haggling. As Mr. Abe carefully wrapped the watch, he looked at Keanu. You know, he said thoughtfully, it's not the complications that make a watch valuable, son. It's the life it keeps time for. Keanu left the watchmaker's corner holding the pocket watch, feeling a sense of peace he hadn't found in the gleaming halls of Chronos Excellence. Luxury, status, the relentless pursuit of the next big thing, they faded in importance next to the simple weight of history, meaning, and genuine human connection held within that small silver case. He realized the lesson wasn't just for Alistair Thorne, it was a constant reminder for himself too. True value wasn't displayed on the wrist, it was carried in the heart. This story shows that sometimes the biggest conflicts happen in the quietest moments, and how prejudice can hide behind rules. Have you ever felt judged for a personal belief or expression? Or felt that a rule was actually masking prejudice? Let's respectfully discuss these sensitive topics in moments of awareness in the comments. If you enjoyed this thought-provoking story, support us.